So how exactly do you build a massive, wildly profitable internet business without taking a single dime of venture capital? Well, in this explainer, we're going to deconstruct the incredible origin story, the crazy rapid iteration, and the exact monthly recurring revenue of Pieter Level's solo SaaS empire. Seriously, if you're an indie hacker, an AI builder, or just an aspiring founder, you're going to want to grab a notepad for this one.
Now, how did a drunk mistake in a Manila taxi lead to a $25,000 a month solo SaaS? The answer isn't some perfectly executed VC-funded master plan. No way. It's actually a totally constraint-driven story about sheer desperation, rapid prototyping, and honestly, a little bit of beautiful chaos.
Let's set the scene. Back in 2013 to 2014, Pieter hit absolute rock bottom. He'd been making around $8,000 a month running YouTube music channels, right? But suddenly, algorithms shifted and his revenue absolutely tanked to just $1,000 a month. He was forced to move back into his parents' house, having literal panic attacks at 4 a.m. Out of pure desperation, he made this public pledge on his blog to launch 12 startups in 12 months. Basically, he gave himself just 1 month per idea to ship it, validate it, or completely kill it.
And that brings us to Nomad List's core problem. See, Pieter was living this problem firsthand. He'd spent time traveling around Asia and just wanted to find cities that were warm, affordable, and actually had fast enough internet to get work done. But there was absolutely zero hard, quantified data out there comparing the cost of living or internet speeds for remote workers. Nobody was quantifying the digital nomad lifestyle. So what did version 1 look like? Well, it proves you absolutely don't need complex code to start. Version 1 wasn't even a real website. It was literally a public Google spreadsheet of just 10 cities that he shared on Twitter. When crowdsourced data started pouring in, he just copied it into a basic HTML table, which he originally called technomad.io. And because he didn't know how to code a secure login system, he literally just used a Typeform connected to a Slack group to build the community. That's the whole shebang.
Now, thinking about his biggest growth and acquisition moments, these weren't highly orchestrated PR campaigns. They were mostly chaotic accidents. First, there was the crowdsourcing, where over 1,000 data points were added via Twitter in just days. Then, the accidental deploy. His Linode server rebooted during maintenance and just accidentally put the site live. Next thing you know, while Pieter was drunk in the back of a taxi in Manila, a friend submitted the site to Product Hunt. It went completely viral, hitting #1, and then immediately snagged the #1 spot on Hacker News, perfectly capturing that whole remote engineering crowd.
Okay, let's talk early monthly revenue. Before his crazy challenge, Pieter wasted an entire year coding an app called Tubelytics for 0 users. Literally $0. But his new rapid-fire shipping method changed the game entirely. His project Go Fucking Do It brought in $300 a month. And then, as confirmed by Pieter himself, Nomad List generated $3,000 in its very first week. This was largely thanks to WordPress founder Matt Mullenweg, who reached out directly to offer a sponsorship.
And here is the ultimate payoff for all that rapid iteration. Confirmed by Pieter during a 2018 Indie Hackers interview, Nomad List was pulling in between $15,000 and $25,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And remember, with a solo founder doing all the coding, all the design, and all the marketing, the profit margins on that kind of revenue are just astonishingly high.
So what's the actual business model here? It's surprisingly simple. Paid subscriptions for exclusive social features paired with sponsorships. By gating the community behind a paywall, Pieter figured out how to turn a massive influx of free traffic into a highly profitable, sustainable business. The core data, the city rankings, internet speeds, weather, that's all free to view, which acts as this incredible SEO magnet. But if you actually want to talk to people, join the Slack group, or find meetups, you gotta pay. Now, the pricing evolution is absolutely hilarious because he shamelessly admits this wasn't some genius revenue maximization strategy. It was a desperate attempt to keep spammers out. At first, the community was free, which obviously resulted in total chaos. So he added a $5 Stripe checkout. When spammers still got through, he just kept bumping it up. $25, then $50, and eventually up to $99. He quickly realized people were totally willing to pay a premium for a high-quality, curated community. The reality of this traffic is pretty shocking. Out of roughly 900,000 monthly visitors, only about 200 people were actually signing up for the paid membership each month. Honestly, that is a microscopic conversion rate. But here's the kicker. Because he completely decoupled his price from his actual costs and charged a premium, those 200 paying users were more than enough to sustain a wildly profitable solo operation. This directly explains why a billion-dollar giant like Facebook just cannot compete with a solo founder who deeply understands a specific niche. If you think about Facebook or Reddit groups, sure, they're free, but they have terrible formatting and they're completely filled with self-promotion and spam. You just can't organize complex, filterable data about internet speeds inside a basic social feed. Pieter built a custom premium product with quantified data and a curated UI specifically for this exact user.
I absolutely love this quote from Pieter. He says, "I'm like a corner store, and I charge for these sandwiches." Aspiring founders so often feel guilty asking for money, right? They assume they have to compete with all these free tools subsidized by venture capital. But Pieter completely rejects that idea. If he builds something that provides immense value, he expects to be paid for it, plain and simple.
He also said, I want to make a Radiohead-type website where it's just like, why is this site so weird, but it works. This perfectly captures his whole philosophy. Instead of obsessing over A/B testing every single button color to maximize engagement, Pieter just follows his gut. He intentionally builds a site that he wants to use, making opinionated, weird design choices that give the product its edgy, distinct indie flavor.
Okay, we really need to talk about the tech stack trap. Getting bogged down in complex, modern frameworks instead of just using what you know is easily the #1 reason aspiring founders fail to launch. Enterprise developers might deal with toxic gatekeeping and write 60 lines of code just to say hello world, but indie hackers like Pieter, they use basic PHP, SQLite, they copy layouts, they ship incredibly fast, and they just ignore the critics. Users don't care what framework your app is built on, just like you wouldn't ask a painter what brand of brush they used.
Of course, even the best make mistakes. Pieter admits spending a whole year unvalidated on 2Blitix for 0 users was a huge blunder. He also made Nomad list worse when he moved back to Holland because he stopped dogfooding, meaning he wasn't nomading and wasn't his own target customer anymore. Plus, he endlessly delayed his makebook. But he has some hard-to-replicate advantages. His massive Twitter audience of over 40,000 followers is perfect for crowdsourced feedback. And his radical transparency, combined with a weirdly accurate intuition for what Hacker News will love, corporate competitors simply cannot replicate that.
All right, let's run through 10 surprising facts about Nomad List, because the reality of startups is wild. Number 1, version 1 was deployed entirely by accident. 2, it hit #1 on Product Hunt while Pieter was drunk in a taxi. 3, the original design was a direct visual clone of Product Hunt. 4, he used a typeform because he couldn't code a login form. 5, he raised prices by 1,880% just to filter out spammers. 6, it was originally going to be named technomad.io. 7, Pieter previously made $8,000 a month running 12 YouTube music channels. 8, he intentionally ignores web analytics to just follow his gut. 9, out of 900,000 visitors, only 200 actually pay each month. And 10, WordPress founder Matt Mullenweg was his first sponsor in week 1.
Now, if you're studying this explainer to create your own content, these hooks and curiosity gaps derived straight from Pieter's journey are pure gold. You've got amazing hooks, like how a drunk mistake in a Manila taxi created a $25,000 a month SaaS empire, or you're spending months learning React. This guy built a $25K a month business with basic PHP. You also have great curiosity gaps, like he was losing $200 a month, so he made a radical bet. Or he accidentally deployed his server. What happened next broke the internet. Storytelling is everything here.
And when you're pitching your own product, you can rely on shocking statistics and highly relatable analogies. We're talking 1 year wasted versus 1 week to profitability. You can use analogies like the corner store versus Starbucks or the swimming pool. You know, stop reading about swimming and just jump in. Imagine the visuals you could build, a scrolling Google Sheet transforming into an HTML table, or an awesome animation of the MRR ticking from $0 to $25,000 right alongside Stripe and Slack icons. This is how you craft a compelling visual narrative. So, what's the indie hacker survival guide? What can you actually copy from all of this to escape the idea phase? First, limit your ideas to 1 month of work so you can fail faster. Second, validate by shipping, not by reading startup porn. Third, completely decouple your price from your costs. Fourth, practice dogfooding. Build products to solve your own actual problems. And finally, stop being so religious about your tech stack. Just use whatever works to get the job done.
You have the blueprint now. You know that tech stack doesn't really matter, and you know you don't need anyone's permission to charge for your hard work. So the final question you really have to ask yourself is, are you standing by the pool just reading about swimming, or are you finally ready to jump in? What are you going to ship today? Thanks so much for hanging out with us for this explainer, and we will catch you on the next one.